Hello, hello. Amber Corinne here.
Hi, how are you?
I've got the lovely Alexandra Austin with me. And today we just wanted to kind of have a little conversation and share a little bit about what we've been up to. So, Alex, you are in California, and it was so much fun. I got to meet you in person. I met you through the coaching certification that we both participated in and graduated from, and through Magnetic Mind. And then we went to a in-person event, and I finally got to meet you, and it was fantastic to meet somebody in person that I've only met and worked with online for gosh, it had been like at least 6 or 9 months or something before we actually got to meet.
It was a long
Um,
time.
so yeah, it was a long time, but I love meeting people that you super connect with and click with, and then actually like carrying that relationship forward. So I'm grateful that we're in each other's lives. It's
Me
wonderful.
too. Who knew a break
So
had a long-term friendship?
yeah, those long term, and then that's one of the things that I absolutely find fascinating is sometimes people complain, like there's so many memes out there today that you can't find friends or you can't date people, like you can't meet people when you're in your adults, like
Really?
whole life. Yeah, and I don't find that to be the case whatsoever. I am making friends left and right, and when I was in a dating focus, that was also not a problem without even doing internet dating, just meeting people in real person. So I think that's part of what it is to be a conscious creator and consciously creating your life
Hmm.
is you choose and decide what beliefs that you want to entertain, and whatever beliefs you're entertaining, it's how life shows up, and that's how you show up to life. So it's kind of a dual-sided coin. You're showing up and then life's showing up, and it's based on the way you perceive yourself and the world. And yeah, so you and I hold the belief that we get to meet people and we get to have fun, and it's not a struggle to connect.
No, it's not.
The age of life. Yeah. So introduce yourself,
So,
tell us
my name
about.
is Alexandra Austin, and the reason I'm on today is because I have a heart's desire to share. I think a lot of people have a heart's desire to share, so I don't think that's so unusual. But what is unusual is I'm a private person by nature, so this is unusual. I have appreciated being hidden. I have appreciated, how do I say this? Enjoying people who love me and not enjoying people who might have a different point of view, right? Because the spectrum of humanity, there's lots of points of view. So my private life has allowed me to interact with people who are like me and who appreciate what I appreciate. So, anyway, that's what that looked like. And I wanted to share because there's so many women these days who suddenly are going to get their little checkup with their doctor, and they get very alarming news, and it's getting to be a bit prevalent. So I decided to come online because I went to the doctor after being perfectly healthy my whole life, and I got very alarming news. And so it's breast cancer. And for most people, that's a very, very scary word to hear, not to mention a very scary diagnosis. And I have transcended it. And so I don't think there's enough people on the planet who get past their cancer that are talking about it. And that's why I'm on today.
Excellent. I am so excited. So when Alex and I were going through our certification, gosh, I think it's been like a year and a half, 2 years now. She was sharing her story with me around how she had transcended this, life-threatening diagnosis. And it was really, really raw, really vulnerable, really challenging, and hard for you to talk about. And it was so clear to me that like you are meant to support and serve other people through this same type of experience. It just was so clear. And as we got certified, and as we brought our heart of service forward to coach other people and to serve them in a greater capacity, to hear you actually shift your focus and say, okay, I'm ready to do it. It just brings me so much joy. And I'm so excited for all of the people that you're actually going to serve and that you're going to support through what can be a really tumultuous and confusing and overwhelming time. Any type of a medical diagnosis is never a fun thing. But when people hear the word cancer, and especially breast cancer as a female, like that is, it's I'm very grateful that I've never had that experience, but the cancer that I have had, was enough to be overwhelming and intense and challenging. And I didn't have a conscious creator focus. I didn't have a forward focus really to navigate that. And that's what you're hoping to bring to people, what you're offering. So do you want to kind of share a little bit about your journey, whatever you're comfortable with, and the way that you intend to serve people and how you help them move forward?
Yeah, and actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to change my screen a little bit. I'm not on camera a lot, so the fact that I'm on camera is kind of shocking. And I wanted to change my screen because it's funny that I'm talking about breast cancer because I kind of have large breasts. And one of the things that happens when you get that diagnosis is you're almost immediately thrown into information that's profoundly alarming. And I was definitely in the deep end. So with my situation, I was not in the kiddie pool. They were not going to take a couple of steps. They were going to take the most aggressive steps available to us today. And they have to tell you everything, which is really too bad because they told me some really, really creepy things. And one of the reasons I wanted to come online today is because you hear so much, your body's going to do this, we're going to do that. I mean, there's a whole lot that you hear. And one of the things that I did was I divorced myself from what I was hearing, and that turned out to be magic. And I can tell you that on the other side, you can't even tell that anything was done to my body. And at one point they were talking about removing body parts. So you can imagine how I felt about that. So the fact that I can literally go without a bra and you cannot even tell is just not even an outcome I would have imagined was possible. And so today, our hope, in short, we're not going to go very long. Our hope, in short, is to offer you the opportunity, not only that you can transcend your diagnosis, but you can go through this journey in a way that's very, very different than what mainstream will share with you. And understand they're sharing what they know. This isn't bashing in any way. Quite the opposite. The people who supported me were benevolent beings. So no bashing here whatsoever. But there's things you can do that people don't think about. They don't know about. And I think your mindset is a really critical piece, to say the least. So if I left you with nothing else, that would be worthwhile. There's more, of course, but that would be, a place to start. So that's a bit about why I'm on today.
So the type of coaching that Alexandra and I do, we're certified in the magnetic mind process. And what that means is we are focused on the creative structure and actually on a very specific orientation. So what you will find in most healing modalities and in Western medicine is a problem focus. People are focused on what's the issue, let's try and solve the problem. What that does is that creates a focus on problems in your consciousness. And so it begins to turn into like a whack-a-mole type of a, experience where, if you have chronic health issues or health issues on any level, you fix one thing and then something else breaks. So now you're on to fixing that and it's making progress in the right direction. And then something else, starts to deteriorate. And then next thing you know, you find yourself on a myriad of different medications and you're trying all these different diets and like you're going to all these different practitioners or doctors or counselors or therapists, and your life begins to be consumed with trying to fix all of these different things that are not going right. And what Alex and I offer is the experience to really shift your orientation, to really shift how you show up and what you're looking at. So when it comes to approaching health, the clients I have that have chronic health issues, we don't actually focus on the health issue. It sounds kind of weird. It's like, oh my gosh, you don't what? Someone's got a, high blood pressure or some other chronic illness, and that's not actually what some of my clients are dealing with, but just as an example, you want to fix your chronic blood pressure, you don't actually focus on that. what you do is you shift your focus onto what you love to experience. So Alex, kind of what was that? What did that look like for you when you got the diagnosis and then you decided to shift your focus?
Well, it's pretty outstanding, honestly. I mean, now that I think back on it and I'm not in the midst of the experience, it's just pretty awesome because, you know, it's kind of like Braille. I was in a dark room. I had no map. I was pretty terrified, to be honest, because, you know, you hear all these stories and none of them are delightful. And I had to go in for quote unquote treatment. They have a certain name for that. And that's not something you would pick, right? It's not something you would pick. And yet, when I went in for treatment, I met the sweetest people in the world. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful gals. And in this case, gals, no men in this group, actually. Anyway, and they were so kind and loving and compassionate. And the point I want to make is when you go in for these sessions, a lot of times on Facebook, I'll see somebody and they do this shock value thing, and they're like, "I'm in treatment," you know, and they'll say these words that are really kind of shocking, which I'm not that person, so I won't be choosing that. But I was in these rooms with other people receiving for my situation, and I was laughing. I was laughing because, and I wasn't laughing to impose on anyone. The way this room was structured, there were walls between each person. So they gave you really lovely privacy, which I thought was spectacular. But the reason I was laughing instead of something else was because I had my AirPods in. I was listening to someone who I adore, who, by the way, is very funny. And so I'd be in there listening to these coaching sessions and I'd be laughing. And the people around me, they were not laughing. They were having a really, really, really rough time. They had particular needs happening, very opposite what was happening with me.
Yep. And so referring to going into chemotherapy and having to receive that infusion. Yeah. That's a really go ahead.
Yeah, and because I just want to say this out loud. You know, when they diagnose you, depending on where you are and so forth and so on, you have choices about how dramatic your treatment will be. I was on the 5-star treatment path. You know, I did not.
The most aggressive treatment path.
Yeah, most aggressive. I didn't have the option to do a lighter dose, maybe not lose my hair. So that's another piece of that is very horrifying for most women. We associate our beauty with our hair. I did lose all of it. You can see it all came back. I'm like a chia pet. And you know, it came back in spades. Yeah, lots and lots of hair. So that's a whole interesting topic because it feels very scary when somebody tells you that's going to happen. And it's very different, the experience of it, but it doesn't have to be the drama that your mind imagines it to be. And oddly enough, your hair comes back really, really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So oftentimes people like we've mentioned are focused on trying to fix the problem, but you were focused on really enjoying life, getting more out of life and moving into a new experience.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. So two things, but so actually I want to say this too, just because if somebody only sees this video, I want them to get this. I wasn't at war with my diagnosis. I did not hate my cancer. If you asked me today if I had a timeline and I could reverse it and take the cancer out, I actually would not. I learned too much. I learned way too much. And I wouldn't want that not in my timeline. Even though I wouldn't pick it, I learned too much. And, you know, the people that do one-on-one coaching with me, they hear the full story with all the details, which I won't do here, of course. And it was a spectacular journey. And that's why I'm on today. I want people to know it can be a spectacular journey. So not only was I fixated on enjoying the journey, which most people really dramatically suffer, and their family suffers. So it's not just their own suffering, it's prolific suffering. But I was extremely focused on what my life would look like when I no longer was doing that. I was no longer obliged to have treatments. I was no longer going to doctors on a consistent basis. That whole thing would be in the past, and I would be living life. And who would I be? And that's where I was focused.
Perfect. And so that focus allowed you to take the action steps in order to create that experience.
Yeah.
So if you just focused on, not losing your hair, unfortunately, that is what happens is when we're focused on avoiding something, we usually get the experience we're trying to avoid. I don't know if you can think of any specific experiences in your life, but I know it's like I used to have a bed frame, and the bed frame, I didn't like the shape of it, and I would always like watch out because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna stub my toe. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna nick my shin. And every time I would start worrying about that, as I'm making the bed, or even just as I'm going about my room, sure enough, I would, walk into this gosh darn bed frame and or stub my toe, and then of course get a big old bruise or scrape on my shin. It was not the best design. But that's what happens is when we're trying to avoid something, the brain locks focus on it, because to avoid something, you've got to know where it is and what it's up to. And then,
Right.
of course, you're drawn to that because
Right.
it's in your conscious focus. And so instead of you trying to avoid the cancer, avoid losing the hair, you instead focused on what you wanted to experience and the things that you wanted in your life after the treatment was done. So the treatment aside, it's like, obviously you're going to survive the cancer and have an effective treatment, right? Because the treatment is either effective or ineffective. And those people who are focused on where they want to go and what they want to experience and the people they want to create memories with and the things they want to share with others when they're fully, fully functioning again and mobile again, that's going to be like a tractor beam to get you into that space. And that's what you employed. That's
Yes,
one component of the coaching that you're offering. Mm-hmm.
that's right. Yeah, and it's
Yep.
really, I wish I had me when I was going through it. I didn't Google cancer. I didn't ask people questions. I didn't talk about it. I didn't expand it in any way. I literally only did what I was required to do to tend to the needs of the body. And then I did my best to forget all about it. And I did not occupy sadness, although there were sad days. I'm not trying to say there weren't. That would be, not correct at all. But I did my best to keep my head out of the weeds. And it's really important for people to keep their head in a certain direction. Just like an airline stewardess, when she's doing this activity, to show you where your exits are. It's just really important. And it's such a dramatic diagnosis that it's very easy to lose focus. It's very easy to go down a hole and woe to me, I'm going to die. I've got this thing, just all of that is so accessible. So I decided to start coaching to help people navigate this and navigate the pieces of it, the eating and all these things that they tell you, because my experience of what I was told and what happened were completely opposite. I was told many creepy things and none of those creepy things came to pass. And the people that were supporting me, they were like, what are you doing? Because they're just used to certain things showing up, and none of those things were showing up. So
Yep. Yep. And that's another key important component to the type of coaching and the service work that you are providing for people, is that it's not about a prescriptive checklist of, okay, now you have this diagnosis and here's what you need to do. It's, that's your doctor is going to give you all the information that you need in terms of the prescriptive like steps that the medical field is recommending. And it's not about completely turning away from the medical field and saying, I'm not gonna, follow orders. It's about leveraging your own conscious focus and your own intuition to see what is aligned for you, and then working with your medical team, your treatment, in order to take the steps necessary to come out the other side so that you are living and embodying all of the different choices and focuses that you have to get you through this time of your life. And illnesses on any level, actually disease, completely is always an opportunity to grow and expand. Some people they'll receive a diagnosis like you're talking about, and they'll immediately think death sentence. It
Right.
doesn't have to be. It really
So,
doesn't have to be. It's always an invitation to actually open into a greater, more full expression of yourself.
yes.
So, yeah. What else do you want to add?
Just that, so I am starting to offer one-on-one coaching. I won't coach a lot of ladies because it's very, very personal. Definitely not cookie cutter. I think I'm going to start a mastermind to make it available to more people in a group setting. I haven't done that yet, but I'm working on that. I'm writing a book called The Alchemy of a Miracle. And so that's going to be about transcending your diagnosis, transcending your cancer. And then I will offer inner circle coaching, which will be a 6-month program. And lastly, I've decided to do an on-demand product for people who are really in harm's way and very concerned and need more support than the one-on-one coaching program would provide. So um, I'm delighted to show up in the world in this way. I have wanted to do this for a long time, but it is very personal, and so I hesitated to have that kind of emotional intimacy with another gal. And this is about breast cancer, so I'll be working with ladies, of course, and I just really, for any of you who are watching this, even if this is all that you see, sorry, I just really want you to know that there's support for you, because it's a big deal, when they tell you this, and it's a big deal, the road ahead. And I don't take it lightly. I did have a magical journey. I know it's weird to say that when we're talking about cancer, but literally I did. If I talk about it in detail, you'd be like, what? Because it's just so opposite everything what people are being told. And for the longest time, I thought I was one in a million, as in, you just don't hear this, so I didn't want to share it because I felt like people wouldn't believe me. They'd think it was contrived or something. And then I just decided, well, the people who think it's contrived can think it's contrived. I know it's not. And I actually met with one of the gals that was a caregiver for me recently, one of my little appointments, because you have appointments for the rest of your life. It's funny. Um, and she was astounded. She said, "What did you do?" And she's the reason I'm on today, because she literally said, you have so much to share and people need to hear what you have to say. And she has been immersed in this topic for about 35 years, so she knows the ins and outs of this in ways that I never will, and thank you, don't really want to. And that's what she had to say. So I adore her. I adore what she's done for me. And now I adore what she's done potentially for you, because I'm choosing to not be private. I'm choosing to tell my story, and I'm choosing to be available for the people who feel drawn to what it is that I bring.
Yep. Perfect. We never know how our words or actions are going to impact another person. And she's seen the gamut of patients, and she's seen how it sounds like the majority of patients have come through, and what they've experienced and how they've come out on the other end.
Yes.
And identifying as a victim of cancer, or even as a survivor of cancer, creating
Mhm.
that identity is not going to give you a thriving, vibrant, like in like uh what am I trying to say? Like integrated and like interactive life, that you fulfilling life that you want to have after that diagnosis has passed, So she saw something different in you, and she called it out, and she mentioned it, and she said, what are you doing? And that's, helped, that's prompted you to share, because other people need to know there's a different way. There's a different way to approach that type of a diagnosis.
Yeah, and not only that, but the reason that that conversation came up was because when I first met her and interacted with her, she was very upbeat, very strong, very, very compassionate, very kind human being, doing what her heart wants her to do. Very, very, very awesome. And she happened to mention, and I was speaking to her about this, that she had a 10-year wall. And she said, "You're going to be on my 10-year wall." And I had just, I had gone through some of what I was going to go through. There was more to go through. There was still a very scary piece to handle. Um, and I heard that. And what I was telling her was, you just don't know how brilliant that was. And she said, what do you mean? She didn't have my context. And I said, because here I am in the throes of this experience, and you gave me a goal. Because from that moment on, all I could think about was, that's my destination. And nothing else showed up for me. And she didn't realize at the time that she was saying something that was going to absolutely feed me completely during the highs and the lows of everything that goes on. And she did. So I was telling her that because I wanted to make sure that as she's meeting new people, she's saying that to them.
Perfect. Yeah. So she, was inadvertently giving you a goal, and
Yep.
that helped you have something to focus on as you were applying the techniques and the meditations and the processes that you're now going to offer and share with other people in your specific coaching. And so she kind of gave you that experience, just as, yeah, she sounds like an angel. Sometimes there are angels among us, and it's really beautiful that, and I know it's not a coincidence either. It's not a coincidence when we have these people show up in our lives and they help us get onto the path. And so now you are on the path of serving others through this, potentially life-threatening and, very big transformative component to their life experience. And you now have all of the tools and all of the processes that you used on yourself that you can offer to other people, that they can start to shift into a new orientation and
Yes.
release, anything that isn't serving them as they move toward what it is they want to experience after their diagnosis. It's beautiful. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
So you've got a few different ways to contact you. What's the best way to contact you? Should it just be, you're just going to have the information in the caption? Or do you have a specific email or website or anything that would be best?
Go ahead and use DM for now. I actually do have Alchemy of a Miracle, but I haven't set it up yet. So this is very raw. I do have it, but it's not live. It's not published yet. So once I get that published, I'll create an email that people can use. But for now, I think I'm going to put this under my Facebook group for Alchemy of a Miracle, and you can DM me from there.
Yep, DM there. And then if you have any other, like an email or a link tree or anything like that, that'll be in the bio or in the caption. So
Yep.
reach out to Alexandra. Do you want to go by Alexandra, or I call you Alex?
Alex is great. I like
that. Because we're nice and cozy, even though we're miles apart. So reach out to Alex through the contact information that's in the caption, and reach out to me if you have any questions as well. I love working with people who have chronic illness, as weird as that sounds, because oftentimes people have treatment teams and they've been going through practitioner after practitioner, and they're having a little bit of progress, and then something shifts and they start tanking again, and the symptoms come back or it flares up, and it's like that thing I mentioned earlier where one thing is starting to improve and then something else breaks, and it can be really frustrating, especially going through that experience for years. And I know, because I have dealt with that myself with some different viral issues, Epstein-Barr, chronic fatigue syndrome, struggles with weight, all of those things, and they do become chronic over time. So I love working with people, helping them get into a new orientation, clearing the beliefs and shifting the mindset, shifting any generational traumas or patterns. Alex does this as well in the coaching, that you're carrying, because we don't realize how many patterns we're carrying. And I say patterns in respect to belief systems. I say patterns in respect to characteristics, into ways that we view things, even emotional memories that are imprinted on us. We inherit these things from our family and our surroundings. We don't even realize that they're not ours. But through the coaching that we do, that is shifted in some of the change processes. And it makes tremendous impacts on your ability to choose a course and stay on it. Because how many times do you think, okay, I'm going to change a habit, and I'm going to change, my exercise routine, or I'm going to change my morning routine, or I'm going to change, some aspect of my life to become more aligned into the person that I want to be. And you start on that way for a little bit, and then the willpower starts to, over time, it starts to gradually decline. Well, it's not necessarily because you don't have willpower. It's just that you have unconscious patterns, beliefs, emotions, generational histories that are inherited, that are pulling you back into what's safe, what is known, even if it's not what you want in your life right now. And these all correlate, and they all play a part in how we show up in life and our success in moving in the direction that we want, or going back into the old patterns we're trying to change. So depending on the experience that you want, the way you do your daily life is going to give you the outcome. So if you're not happy with the outcome that you have right now, you can make changes to have a different outcome. But again, it starts with that conscious focus and knowing where you're going. So Alex and I are here to serve you. Reach out, and thanks for watching today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Fun. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.